This is the truth behind the power of Michael Jordan in the NBA over the referees. In general. That's what I laugh when people they still, after I tell them in the video about Michael Jordan, what happened, people still want to believe lies. It was his gambling. And that's what he did. And it was a secret suspension because some idiot wrote a blog. They read it in the blog, and because it's on the internet, they read it on the blog. That's what happened. It was a secret suspension of Michael Jordan. Why would David Stern suspend his most grossing player in the entire league? They didn't want to suspend him for one basketball game. They had to fight to get that done. And you think he gonna suspend him for a season, 2-3 years? Are you crazy? You don't suspend no Michael Jordan. Oh gosh, even for gambling, he would have just got a slap on the wrist. They did a fake investigation. Michael Jordan already written the check. They already told him what to do. They was like, do you owe anybody? Yeah, just write him a check. Pay that off. So then, okay, you're going to have a hearing. You're going to say, look, I gambled on golf. Didn't do anything with basketball. And that's all they wanted to do, have him on record saying he never bet on basketball games. Once that was done, it was over. Listen. The game had changed so dramatically in the years when Michael Jordan was coming into prominence. The revenue was going up. Everything was going up. Except for the players was getting the same amount of money or less. But now it's bridging a way to change for the 90s. With all these endorsements that are now coming to the NBA, these new revolutionary car contracts, Chevrolet, all these things. And this was being brought by Michael Jordan. And of course, the invisible hand. Now, when you talk about Michael Jordan, once he became a phenomenon to the league, even though they weren't winning individually, his talents was just amazing. But he is a generator of revenue for the entire league. Power was going to be given to Michael Jordan that's not usually given to a lot of players, just superstar players. Like, you wouldn't see Larry Bird foul out of a game. You wouldn't see Magic Johnson foul out of a game. They didn't have that type of luxury that Michael Jordan induced. You know, you see Magic be upset over a call or Bird be upset over a call, but never like how Michael was. Michael acted as if you guys work for me, and don't you forget it. That's the attitude he had with the referees. And Michael had a way of not only buddying up with the players, but he was buddy with some of the officials outside of the NBA, which should have been a no-no. More shockingly was his friendship with Eddie Rush. Eddie Rush and Michael Jordan went to a blues club before, rumored. They was at a blues club in New Orleans and had a very good time there. They shared a plane, I think, if not, going to another spot where they just miraculously ran into each other at a charity event. See, what Michael Jordan used to do, allegedly, is have these events with the sponsors and help the referees get paid. Referees only made, at that time, during the early 80s, like 88, 89, they were getting paid $17,000 to $20,000 a year. The major ones, like the main referees, the very good ones, like the Joey Crawfords, they were making about $50,000 to $60,000 a year for a referee, so they could do it full time. But most of the referees, this is a part-time gig. So if you can help them make more money at the end of the year, like having them at a Nike sponsored event for some AAU thing, having a Gatorade thing, and they having an NBA ref there, or having Eddie Rush ref a game, or just for an appearance, and they get to cut a check. Now, the NBA at this time wasn't even monitoring this type of affair or events. It was not even looked at. Had social media been around, this would have been blown way up. It had been a lot larger. But the older referees, like Jake O'Donnell and Earl Strom, this is like the head of the class. They didn't do all this sorting. Michael didn't work with them. But to the Joey Crawfords, the Danny Crawfords, and the Crooked Steve Javie, Javie was a business tycoon himself. He was all in the real estate and other ventures of trying to go out and socialize. So him and Michael became quite good friends and very well known. Hugh Evans, same thing. But it was the one day in Indiana that kind of froze it all. When Michael Jordan met this girl named, Miss Kenneth. When she was introduced to Michael Jordan by Eddie Rush. Michael had just been married for about a year when he met Kenneth. Eddie called Michael, told him, I got one for you. Which basically, like, I want you to meet my friend, and she's a good person. And she was inspiring to be a singer. She's a former beauty pageant woman from a small town in Indiana, wanted to branch out to be a singer, and thought this would basically help her career being associated with Michael Jordan. So, he would come into town, see her, take her places, see her, and, because of their relationship, or his relationship with his wife, and he explained to her, hey, me and her has a business type relationship. She knows what it is. So, this is what we're doing. But he's Michael Jordan, the biggest figure in the world now. He's growing. And she got pregnant at one point, and she didn't know if Jordan was the father or not, but she's telling him he is. So he's like, you got to get an abortion, because this could ruin me. And then she decided to go ahead and have the kid anyway. So Michael was like, look, I'm going to cut you a check. I'm going to give you, she claims Michael Jordan said, I'm going to give you $5 million. But in actuality, Michael Jordan said, if the kid was his, I will pay you that kind of money. Not that you're going to get that money and the kid ain't mine. It doesn't make sense. So the kid wasn't his. He still gave her $500,000 to keep quiet about the affair. Look, here's $500,000, just keep your mouth shut about the affair. All is good. So she for years was quiet, and then all of a sudden decided, you know what? It's time to break contract and break everything we agreed upon and start running my mouth because I want $5 million now. And this is years down the road. I'm like, Michael's not even playing anymore. You talking about this is 20 years later you come with this lawsuit. But then it brings up how he met, and then the referee Eddie Rush was the one that did it, and it's like, whoa, okay. Michael Jordan would get calls. I'm going to tell you how bad it was. The 1993 NBA Finals, Game 3 in Chicago against the Phoenix Suns. The game that went to overtime, I think almost 2 overtimes. Watch that game. Michael Jordan was as livid as he's ever been in any game I've known him. The Chicago Bulls could not get a foul call because they went up 2-0 over Phoenix. And they won both games in Phoenix. Now they got 3 straight in Chicago. So they're like, okay, this series is not going to make it. Phoenix needed a lot of help, and the referees had to oblige to make it a series. The Bulls, they had nobody that could guard Michael Jordan. Jordan was going to the basket. They were not getting foul calls. They shot in 2 overtimes, maybe 5 free throws the entire game. Michael Jordan stayed calm. He was upset about the refs. Watch that game, then watch Game 4. And watch what Michael Jordan did in Game 4. And let me tell you what happened after that. Before that, in between those games. In between those games, Michael Jordan got on the phone and he called Russ Granite. He got all them guys on the phone and said, I know what you're doing. And you think you can do this to me? And he said, well, what do you mean, Michael? I don't get it. Allegedly, all this happened. He said, you think you could do this to me? I'm going to show you MFers. Play with me the next game. I'm going to force it out of your hands. I'm going to make the papers. I'm going to make everybody know what you're doing. You think you're going to save them? You're not. I want this team out of here. And I'm going to get rid of them myself if I have to. You keep playing with me. Michael, we don't understand what you're talking about. You tell Javi, you tell Danny, you tell Derek Stafford that if they ever in their life do what they did again the other game, I will not stop until they're out of the NBA. So, he called Lacey Banks from the Chicago Sun-Times and said, Lacey, this is what's happening. They trying to railroad me. They want to keep Charles into this series, and they want to help out Phoenix to make it more competitive. This team is not. This team doesn't have it. They're inexperienced. They don't know how to win. And we're going to get rid of them. We should sweep them. And I wanted to sweep. I wanted to sweep Charles and his team. His team of destiny. So, Lacey went and told him, and he's like, just wait. I'm going to give you something to talk about after Game 4. Game 4 starts. Michael Jordan refused to shoot a jump shot. Every time he got the ball, Michael Jordan went to the basket. Every time. They trying to guard him with Dan Marley. He forced it in every foul. He looks at the referees. He's forcing them to call foul. You're going to have no choice because they can't guard me. And I'm going to beat them myself if I have to. Game 4 was personal for Michael Jordan in the league. And after every summer, Michael Jordan used to, go out and hang out with that stuff had to stop. The league was against it, especially in '98 when Michael Jordan retired. He had the referees go and work his Nike camps and everything else. And when he came back to the NBA, that's when the NBA didn't want him to come back. When he played with Washington, they wanted him to stay retired because they were already in a good space. But the first time he retired, they wanted him back badly because they needed him. But they were okay with his '98 retirement because the league was where it needed to be with the younger talent they had developed. So they were okay with Michael going ahead and leaving because they're in a good spot. So when he's talking about coming back in 2001, it was like, no, the NBA was, we don't need him. Don't come back. But Michael's like, I don't care. I'm coming back. And then they took their support away. When he came back, then they start cracking down. All the referees can't be around you. They can't go to your events anymore. That's collusion. We can't. He's like, Michael don't care about that. Michael's going to the Washington Wizards. What collusion is Michael Jordan going to get? You're not going to let the Washington Wizards win. Michael Jordan got knocked to the ground. He got fouled hard. He wasn't getting the calls that he normally would get when Washington, and Michael was still being Michael, threatening and everything. You blow that whistle next time. Michael was very fierce on the referees. So I have more respect for Michael when he played for Washington than any time in his career, because he came back for the love of the game. He wanted to play. And if he could help the team, he could help the team. Michael just wanted to play. He needed that level. He needed to be out there competing. So he's the oldest player to ever score 40 points in a game. I mean, it wasn't like Mike couldn't play. Michael Jordan could play. He learned how to become an efficient basketball player at all facets of the game before he left. But he had a lot of help in Chicago. You guys only see numbers. You don't see what actually happens in a game. There's a lot of things that they allowed Michael Jordan to do when he had poor shooting nights. It's a grueling season. Bus rides, plane rides, hotel stays, flying back and forth, playing every day, practice, getting up at 9 a.m., looking at film. All this stuff is taxing on your body. Think about something you love to do. If you had to do it every day, if you'd be tired of it, you'll want a break from it. So, just think about it that way. And I'm a Piston fan. But I am not ashamed to saying that Michael Jordan was the greatest competitor we've ever faced. Because he was the face of the league, and we were the ones that beat him the most. And I love that. So when you try to throw in the fact that they won 6 championships, remember 3 of those belonged to Detroit. You had Dennis Rodman. You had to come to the Pistons, baby, to get those other 3. Just remember that. Because without Dennis, you weren't getting 3 championships. and that's the truth, Rude. You're not winning 72 games in a season without Dennis Rodman. And Dennis Rodman should have been the MVP against Seattle. He had the best impact of the game. But a lot of you are probably too young to remember that stuff. But I implore you, because you have social media now, you guys can go back and check out videos, go out and check out all these games that we're talking to you about. So please, go ahead and do so. And let me know what you think.